they're trying to pull out of the schools. And so we'll be starting our next session in October. We hope that a lot of our young people will come and be a part of that. We started right here in Ardmore. We have our classes over at Haverford College, and so we are also trying to be an answer to what our kids need.
What age?
What age group do you have?
We're focusing on middle school right now, grades 5 to 8. We're open to expanding.
Are we touching the high school children?
We're K through 12. We're K through 12. And when the parents bring the preschoolers, we work with them too.
Yeah. What's the name of?
But we work with college students as well.
Freedom
And we work with adult education. We don't have an age limit here.
And Roxanne Wright is the founder of Freedom Empowerment Academy.
Joyce?
So one thing I learned about kids is I have a book out talking about my family history. It's called Graham's Fifth Graham. Tells the children in her family about their history. And I've been doing this in the Philadelphia school system and telling children my experience and then getting them to read the book and come back and answer questions. And one of the things that they're interested in is knowing where they came from. We don't talk as Black people about where our grandparents came from, our great-grandparents. And I mean, I see a spark in these kids once they start to find out who they are and find out there's something in their past or in their family that intrigues them, that encourages them, that makes them want to know more. And so my suggestion usually to them is tape your grandparents, if you still have them. Tape your mother and father, tape an older auntie. But you will learn things about yourself. One of the things that I've noticed is on finding your roots. Those people have no idea where they came from, what their families were like, and kids absorb that. So, you know, we're parents and grandparents. Get a tape recorder out and work with your children, and teach them about who they are.
Well, I just want to add to what you're saying. First of all, I'm happy to hear about what the neighbors, how the neighbors is doing. That's fantastic. What you're talking about, the freedom and empowerment, and I'm thinking, how do you replicate what it is that you're doing everywhere? And so that was one thought. But you know so this is all still part of the question about how to make the main line better. And listening to you talking about we're not, and you and somebody else said we're not telling our children about who we are. The question is why not? And you know, so I've been thinking and talking to you here recently. Well, I think a lot of it has to do with trauma.
Absolutely.
You know, if and what they call generational trauma and all this other kind of stuff. So, but that all is wrapped up in what I keep hearing, uncomfortable conversations with ourselves, among ourselves, and then among ourselves as Black people, but then reaching out to everybody else. Because when I mention this thing about the 7 levels of racism, and the question is, so what do we do about it? How can we do about it? Because as you know, this country was founded in white supremacy. Right. I'm just gonna say it. And when you look at the founding, the so-called founding, because I've always had problems how do you found the country when there's people been living there for thousands of years.
Right.
Yeah.
So so when we get into this so-called founding, and then I feel myself getting angry, and then I feel myself saying, well, why shouldn't Black people feel angry with all this history of mistreatment? And that's just the cover word, mistreatment. But what are we going to do about it? And so I'm thinking one of my little answers was confront anything that happens. So if somebody calls you out of your name, you confront them with it. Say no, you can't do that. why you can't do that, because I am so and so and so. The other thing that we can, that I was thinking about and was put to me was learn about the politics of this country and the world and the government and the tools of control. What is it that we can do? I mean, we can do something. We can stand up and just say, no, you can't do that. We can go down fighting, just like some football teams do. But you can go down fighting. But we gotta fight back. We gotta keep fighting for our rights, and just keep talking and just keep talking and do some action. So that means going to the township meetings. That means going to the school board meetings. That means showing up, like one of the ladies was saying, not just one or two of us. That means, going en masse on a continuing basis. So it's not just the two of you in the meeting, that we can control and talk over. Yeah.
That's right.
This is, I'm trying not to preach. You see me, I'm starting to get on my van. The question was positive solutions, and so, okay, so we got the thumb on us. We have to keep fighting to get the thumb off of us. That's some of my things, and I just have to mention. I happened to receive an award back in June, and had family and friends there, and this has to do with the preservation work that I do, and this is out of Chester County. So they asked me to say a few little words, and so I came up with some words that I think about when I think about preservation and when I think about just in life in general. So I'm just going to throw these out, and then I'm going to say I'm done. But I just get done. So the words that I have are exposure. Exposure, and exposure works both ways. So when you say you want to expose some little black kids to such and such a museum, well, the people in the museum are being exposed to these little black kids. It works both ways. Exposure. Flexibility in your mind. Be open to stuff. I hear a lot of black folks say, well, we tried to tell you all, talking about the situation that we're in. We tried to tell you, but you didn't listen. You voted for this person. You didn't listen. Blah, blah, blah. We're not going to tell you anymore. Well, that's I can't criticize that because sometimes I have to feel like that. But at the same time, what is that getting you? It's getting you the same thing. If you're not introducing new information to somebody, or you're trying not to expose somebody, to other information, how are they going to change, or how are they going to start thinking about, their possibilities of opening up their minds? So, flexibility in your mind and also in your body, and we can talk about us old folks, not being able to get up after you sit for a while, but that kind of thing. Connections. My word connections is what we're doing right now. We're all here, we're meeting, and we want to go out and say to somebody, well, you missed it, let me tell you what happened. And they're going to say, third hand, we missed it, somebody told me that this and this and this happened, and what are we going to do about it? It's not you, it's not what you're going to do about it, one person, all of us need to be doing something. Remembering.
Excuse me, one quick thing. So this is being filmed
Yes.
and edited, so it will be available.
Okay.
Which is a blessing.
And yes,
and
it
you're
is.
not going through the township and they say, well, y'all got to pay us. No.
Well, and thank you for doing that. That's why I'm happy to be a part of this whole thing. Remembering who we are. We've all been taught
Nobody.
Okay, I'll find out. All right, so remembering who we are, and that also includes ancestors and cemeteries. I'm also part of this whole thing about cemeteries, and I'm just gonna tell this one little story about cemeteries. Joe Beckton, you all know the name.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Preston Avenue.
Preston Avenue, he's related to different folks
Yeah,
around here.
yeah.
Joe Beckton, as
Joe
you know, if you
Beckton,
don't
yeah.
know, is he's a reenactor for the United States Colored Troops.
Mhm.
He also is a reenactor for the Rhode Island First Regiment, I believe it was, which has something to do with Valley Forge. They were at Valley Forge. So, and you know, he's a fantastic historian, and the group that I'm part of, that he's also a part of, Pennsylvania Hallowed Grounds, we had him talk about Juneteenth and the effects of Juneteenth, not just about the day of Juneteenth, but what's happened since then. And he got to talking about how the explosion of black churches, the explosion of black societies, men and women, you know, just went on. But the one thing that he did say was, you know, talking about cemeteries, people come to him and say, well, you know, I'm trying to find so-and-so and so-and-so in the cemetery, you know, can you help me? And his thing is, well, where did you leave them?
Where did you leave them?
Where did you leave them? People pass and, you know, and you're diligent, you go visit the grave for the first 5 years, and then, you know, then a couple of years, and the next thing you know, it's been a long time since you go and visit somebody.
Yeah.
This is all part of the remembering. And so, that's all part.
And
then
what
my
you're
last.
saying, all that history, they're not getting it in school. Where they gonna get it from?
Well, it comes from us.
Okay.
I just have one more word. And my last word is expectation. Well, what are expectations? If there's a project, what am I expecting out of this? What are you expecting out of this? Maybe I'm thinking that we're going to reach this particular goal. Maybe we're thinking we're going to reach another kind of goal. Well, if you talk about it, that's when you find out I'm thinking this and you're thinking that. So how do we come to a compromise goal? And then what are the steps that we need to do to get there?
Right.
So those are my 5 words. I'm sorry. You see I'm all riled up. And thank you for narrating.
Go ahead.
You were saying how people are going to have to know the exact history. Well, see, that's been a problem with this country anyway, because there's certain levels of education they will not teach you the history of African American. You either got to search it out or you don't get it. There are things in the European history they have done away with because they keep us ignorant of.
Part of the control.
And this is the thing about it. The only way we can do it, we're going to have to make a consensus that black people as a whole, when they're coming up, they should be able to learn their history. Until you get that set in stone, this is going to be the problem. Because there are all pockets of people telling them this and that. But there's no structural setup to be able to tell your young people. And if you know as a historian, you will be able to relate that to a student. If you have a person over here, they didn't go to college and they don't know. See,
Well,
that's the point.
But I think part of that point is that you don't have to be a college graduate.
No, you don't.
You don't have to know a whole lot if you tell your story.
True.
If you tell your story, it's going to affect somebody else's story, and you may bring in somebody else's story. So I'm thinking about, well, why is it that black folks, we all complain about young folks. They don't do this, they don't do that, and why is that? Why? How come they don't know their history? We complain they don't know their history. Well, how come they don't know it? What is it that we're doing? that we're not helping them. You know, this is supposedly a new day now. Okay, so what is it that we're not doing to help them learn their histories? We have to get over some stuff.
Yeah,
sure.
I have a comment on that. Yeah. Most of us in here are over 50 or whatever. Our parents, grandparents, not only survived racism in the 20th century, but also the Great Depression. So by the time we were born, I was born in 1948, we had a sense of appreciation. Our parents had a sense of appreciation and valued stuff. We were also resourceful. We didn't have to wait for somebody to do something for us. We were taught how to do it. Modern people don't even know how to, if they still have them, don't even know how to change a fuse. We had to be practical in the way that we dealt with stuff. We also had social skills that we were held accountable for. The difference now, I remember when I was teaching, I ran into a white second grade teacher. She stopped in the hall, we spoke for a minute. And she looked at me and said, "You know something, Mr. Moses? Some of these children have no boundaries. We gotta put boundaries, we have to demand boundaries on our youth. Or otherwise, they're just gonna go wild. They don't have to learn they're not learning how to do things, they're not learning how to be resourceful, because everything's an app. I can get an app for that. I don't have to even learn how to tie my shoes. I remember I had a first grade kid, didn't know how to tie his shoes. So I showed him, I'm talking about being engaging as well. And I showed him how to tie his shoes. I said, one day you'll be able to do this without even thinking about it. I said, you do it so much because of muscle memory. Your muscles will remember what to do, that you can tie your shoes with your eyes closed. So I untied my shoes and tied them back up with my eyes closed. We have to give kids examples of the simple things that we need to do in daily life to survive. But we're not always going to have apps. We're not always going to be able to go to some kind of site or have somebody come and provide a service for us that we should know how to do ourselves. A lot of our people don't even know how to cook anymore. That's a tragedy. That's a real tragedy. It's not lazy, it's just that they're not engaged. They don't have the examples in front of them.
That's right.
You can go to McDonald's and get a meal. Why do you need to learn how to cook a hamburger?
So you're talking about learning history. Back in the day, when the families used to sit at the table and eat together, and look each other in the eye. I know in my family household, I knew about my great-grandparents and my great-great-grandparents, who served in the Civil War and who ran away from the police officers, because we all sat around and heard the same stories. And then when the aunts and uncles used to come over, they would rehash it and keep on telling you and telling you. Then, when you went to church or Sunday school, when we sat around the table together and looked at each other and spoke to each other, Bethel A.M.E. Ardmore, I learned our Black history, or at the time it was colored history / Negro history. The ministers would stand up and talk about things that happened in the past that brought us forward. I know A.M.E., I always say that A.M.E. history is American history because the African Methodist Episcopal Church, there's a lot of United States history connected to us. And those churches have done well by letting people know what your history is. So I think until we get the time to slow down, sit down with our family members, no TV, no radio, no tablets, and have a family dinner other than Thanksgiving and Christmas, and start communicating with each other. The young girls in the kitchen, young men in the kitchen, learning how to cook. It's not that they don't know, it's like they don't see the examples of anything. I think we have to go backwards in order to move forward.
Yeah. Right. Wow. Yeah, this is great, and
I just wanted to address your question about replication of efforts. So, Nene, did you want to speak first?
No.
experience?
I come from a school of hard knocks.
Yeah, that's right.
My parents,
Yeah.
my parents taught me what I know.
Yeah.
And I used that to build
That's-
this.
that's
We
the way-
started because of the threat of COVID, and I got really scared for our community, including me and my family. And I said, if somebody doesn't do something, we're going down, because local government's not gonna jump in action quick enough to help anybody. That was the one thing I was sure about. So, all the neighbors jumped in, I called on people, those that weren't afraid to go out in the pandemic went out with me, and then the schools started closing. And at that point, we were distributing food at the Ardmore Community Center because they were closed down. And I said, hey, can we use it? They said yes, so I said, okay. So Linda Jackson came to me, and she said, Manira, what are we gonna do about our babies? And I said, I know, Linda, I was thinking the same thing, because we both got the word on the same day. I said, I'm thinking the same thing. I said, give me till tomorrow, and I'll talk to you then. And so we ended up, I called the school district, I said, well, I called the township first, and I said, the shack is closed, can we use it how many kids can we socially distance, and can we use it in that capacity? And they said yes. They said you take 30 kids. So we put the word out to the families that we really needed the most, that didn't have people at home that were going to be able to teach them how to do their classes online, right? Because nobody knew how to do it, even the school district. So we started that, and we were filled in 24 hours, we were full. We took the kids in, and we did what we did. The only thing I knew how to teach was to say, hey, I see you're not understanding what the teacher is telling you online about counting by fives, counting by tens, but do you know when we're out in the playground and we're jumping rope and we're singing 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, you're counting by fives, right? They're like, oh, bing, light bulb goes off. I was like, we're on to something here. So we did that the whole time school was closed. But at the same time, I said, all right, we can do something else, right? So I said, okay, I told the parents, if your children, grandparents, guardians, I said, if your children are going to participate in this program, you have to be willing to sign them up for a free one-on-one tutor for the entire school year. They said, done, do it. So we put a plea out in the community, well, we need tutors. People were signing up because they're home. They wanted something to do. They wanted to feel like they were helping, but they were scared to go out. So I was like, okay, I'll bring it in your house, right? So teachers, everybody, educators, firefighters, police, everybody, people from all over our community started pitching in. They're all teaching the kids one-on-one. So then I said, okay, so I was on a call one day with high schoolers, and they said, you know, Laura Marion announced, they told us today that during the pandemic they're going to be teaching at 62% of the curriculum. Light bulb, ding. I said, okay, we're going to download the curriculum from the PDE, and we did. And all our tutors taught from that, and I told them all to teach at 100%. Now, when our kids got back to bricks and mortar, now they're not only online with their peers, but some of them were beyond their peers for the first time ever for our community. So I said, okay, what else can we do? So I said, hey, parents, how about we keep the tutors through the summer? The kids can't really go out and do anything anyway. Do you want your kid? Yep. Everybody say, yep. So we taught all the kids through the summer. So now we're tutoring them year round, one-on-one. It changed the face of things. So that's how our education program started. And when it went back to in-person, we started but it all came from, and I have to say fairly, and thank you, Alfie, and everyone who mentioned my father and my mother, it all came from them. And my father, anyone who knew my father knows he did whatever anyone needed. No matter who came to him, whether it was his expertise or not, he did it, my mother did it, or they figured out together a way to MacGyver it if it had to, but my dad would make it work so everybody had what they needed. And that's what was instilled in me. And that's why when it came time to start Neighbors Helping Neighbors, yeah, I have relationships with the township. I have relationships with the school district. I told them I need tables and chairs and desks. They sent them down. I need food for the kids. They sent it down. Okay, I had those things to call on, but the structure of it came from what happened in my household growing up. And it's, when you talk about race on the main line, a lot of people don't think about the complexities of what it was for me, who was born in 1961, to live in it. Now Sarah knows, Miss Rosie knows, because they grew on the street together. But what it was like to grow up in the 60s in a home where you had both races and they had to figure it out. And they had to make it work. And it had to be in a way that supported not only their 6 kids, but each other. That's what I grew up from. So I took all that, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I only went to a junior college. I didn't really like school. Truth is, I wasn't a school person. I learned by hand in my dad's locksmithing truck. That's what I like to do. I ran
Right.
power tools. That's what I did. I'm a retired general contractor because I ran power tools. Because I loved being up under my dad. So I took everything he taught me in how you build a business to become the first black master locksmith and safecracker and key maker, right? And I took the same structure and I used it to build this organization. And in doing so, I share with the kids all the time how that whole thing happened to let them know you can do it too. You can do it too. It doesn't take any of the things that they're telling you it takes to do this. All it takes is right there. Right there.
I'd like to add one thing. So, the brother I'm here with, Bernard, was in the illusion. He studied with Mr. Walker. We were blessed to interview Mr. Walker on film. It's over an hour piece, and he was, so we had that, and it's very interesting. I mean, her father, like, was a musician, and her father hired John Coltrane back in the early 50s as a side man. Her father played with Lynn Hope, the first African American, North American to make the Hajj in Mecca that I heard back in the 40s, So we have a video of him, and we have a video of Debbie Harley's Uncle Harry Thornton and his sister, Aunt Mutt, interviewed with them, and it's just, so we've been talking about having an evening with the videos here, so people can come in and just learn some of the history, you know what I mean? From first hand, from who was saying that you were saying to tape record and all that kind of stuff. But we blessed the video with them, And it's comical and it's learning and it's like it's golden me and the whole bit. Okay, so look for that to come at some point.
Well,
And if we can get all everybody's information, email and all that kind of stuff before you leave here, then you good thing. Yes, sir.
I must remind you, remember your mother had a brother that played the clarinet. Don't you remember?
No, my mother's father,
Okay.
Alfred Hemsley.
Yeah.
He played, matter of fact, him and my mother, my grandfather was playing cornet then, my mother's playing violin with Mr. Waters' band. Mr. Waters from Ardmore,
Right.
right? And yeah. And then of course my father played in the Lansdowne Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah, before that was another orchestra.
Right.
Yeah.
You remember the name?
The
Can
Philadelphia Concert Orchestra.
Philadelphia Council. Yeah,
Yeah.
Philadelphia Council Orchestra, right. So I mean, and then he was a string quartet called Tempo String Quartet, and like my brother, sister, and I, we hated it, but we grew to love it,
Yeah.
Like we go to the orchestra, we see Raymond Smith, the conductor, and my brother said, he acts like a monkey. All this stuff, you know what I mean? But it's like, how young people perceive stuff.
Right.
But I mean, this is a great forum and everything. And
I also remember Mr. Waters, he would come to my house and teach my sister Gloria piano. So while he was doing all those things, he still took time
Yeah.
for the neighborhood that he lived in. So that's something to think about as well.
yeah. I see we're approaching 4 o'clock. So, any final remarks, or we'll go around the table?
Oh, okay. Malcolm X said, keep your enemies the closest to you. If you're a Christian, and I'm sure it's in other religions, love your neighbor. And that in itself is not an easy thing to do, but will keep the pressure off of you. If you can do those two things, not treat them like they treat you. And don't forget the birds and the bees and the garden, and how good nature gets along, and how good it makes you feel. How it will like really bring you closer spiritually to where you come from.
Yeah, like Alice, her brother Kenny Wright, and a guy named Butch Floyd, we used to hang out. They were older than me, right? We hung out. We went to dances, we go to places like Swarthmore and different places. We went to dances, we would crash parties, we did all kinds of stuff. But it was like great rolling with those guys, you know what I mean? Go ahead, Gil.
Oh, thanks everybody for coming out,
Hey,
sharing.
Gil, are you signing autographs today?
What was that?
Yeah,
No,
thanks
no,
everybody.
no, you the entertainer, I'm just I'm the hype man, you know, if you ain't rapping, I'm in the background clapping. No, really, that's what I tell my grandkids. I got some greats and the teenagers. That's what our position is. I can't pull that card anymore. I tell young people that all the time. A lot of us are in that position in our life. But we can get in the back and push. Okay, so yeah, we can't pull but push. And like that little saying I say there, because I got, you know, like I said, grandkids. Yeah, we ain't the ones out front. But we can be in the background. I'm your hype man. You know, they understand what I'm saying. So if we can take that kind of position and share, and the main thing, like Alfie said, I'm not super tech savvy, but like old folks use email, we need to get on email, start an email list with this group, you know, merge in whatever groups we have in that, and then share. And because there's a lot, everything I said, everybody else has a story. And I'm just thankful. Thank you all for coming, and thank you all for honoring me, giving me the honor to be on the panel. Thank you, Alfie. I'll talk to you afterwards. Once you get started.
Well, thank Mr.
Don't
Craig
cut
Whitney
you off.
too.
Hey,
Give
hey,
Craig a
you
big
know what
hand
that
too.
means.
Craig Whitney.
Craig Whitney, everybody.
Stand up, stand up, young
Thank
man.
And that's it. You know, I'm just saying, we put our names on that list, share, shoot things around, and go from there, you know. That's it.
I'd like to tell everybody that I really enjoyed listening to you guys. And then each one of you probably enjoyed because you was talking about things that you remember back in the days, Try to keep it going like this. And when you pass it to your children, at least you should have half of this. Because they're going to take from you, you know, and other, because everything going to be put on the TV and everything. You know. But this is very nice. And you'd like to see your children be like that. For society, because this community here, it takes another black community from, you know. But this is, you can't imagine if you don't have this, how you can miss it. You're going to go somewhere and say, oh, somebody will be here, wonder what happened. We all die, you know. But something this is so valuable. Each one of you probably will touch each other and remember things that you never thought about. You know? So keep this one, keep it going. It's very positive. And Munira, nice job, excellent. You know, and
what I'd like to leave, first of all, thank you everybody. It's been a wonderful day for me, and just seeing people that I haven't seen in a while. And I'm going to take a different approach to you. I'm going to say that we're all leaders in some capacity, whether we lead our grandchildren or our children, we're all leaders in some capacity. And I would say that heavy is the head that wears the crown. And so that means that to me is that, you know, I know that there's going to be these heavy burdens just by me existing on this earth and being black. so we know that we're gonna have these burdens, and I'm saying to all of you, don't give up. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, but don't give up.
Mr. Hodge.
You mean, pass me.
We'll come back to you,
Trying
we'll come
think
back
about
to you.
it. Okay. I just want to say, again, thank you very much. When Alfie called me, I tried my best to get out of it.
True.
Because, and the reason why I say that is because, you know, when he mentioned, you know, like the first maybe 2 questions, and I was trying to think of an answer, and I thought to myself, but, well, since I'm one of the younger of the 7 that I mentioned, you know, that maybe the older ones would have more experience and would be able to answer, you know, all these questions. And so I said, well, maybe you should be talking to so and so and so and so. He said, no. He said, we're going to talk to you. He said, we would like for you to come. And he said, because you have some visibility. You know, as you all know, well, you may know and I don't know, but, you know, I've been out there trying to get stuff done. And so I'm thinking to myself, so I guess I'm supposed to represent the upper main line.
One of these.
Yeah, that's what they're going.
And which I thought was cool because Alfie and I have been talking for years, and some other folks have been talking for years. You know, there seems to be this lower main line and the upper main line, and there's not much activity or in between the two. And so I'm saying to myself, well, I guess I need to eat my words because I've been talking about that. Maybe I need to do something about that. And so I agreed to be part of it. And I'm so happy. And I just have to mention that I'm so happy that I'm glad that my twin sister is here to give me the support that she's always been doing.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you, you don't have to point me out.
Well, no, you're right. I don't need to. But it's an acknowledgement. It's remembering. Where's my list of all the things? You know, it's the connections. It's all that. So I thank you all very much. And just like you know, so I guess my final words would be: don't stop, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. And if the kids say I can't, say you can, and here's how.
Jimmy?
I'm gonna say short and sweet. The ground rules are already set. Stay in school, achieve a higher education, and be able to compete with the majority in all phases. Well, I can't claim any more than that. That's excellent. My whole purpose is to thank you for asking me to come participate. And I'm saying this because really as a black person, and I grew up and I'd seen a whole lot of things in my life that luckily by my parents being of a religious nature, they counteracted a lot of things that I could have fell through. Because there's something about out in the world, it has the snares of black men. That's what's out there to snare the boys or the young men. See, that's to undermine the race. So luckily I had parents and people around me to keep me from that. And I have to thank God for that, because man can't do that. And I'm saying that I'm just thanking the Lord that I've survived this moment to tell the story. And I really thank you for having me on the show.
Well, thank you, Alfie, for
Schoolmate.
inviting me. Yeah, to be honest, I didn't know whether I could even do that because, you know, I'm mostly a homebody type of person. I don't really get out and do a whole lot of things like I used to. But I do appreciate your, you know, having the confidence to think that I could actually be a part of the panel. And for me, I think about the young people. And my biggest concern is how can we help these young people do better and be confident in their life. And I think it's just letting them know how much we love them, how much we care. And when we have the chance, encourage them to put down their cell phone and let's talk. Let's have a conversation, one-on-one. So how are you doing, etc. And it starts like that, and hopefully it can continue. Thank you again.
Okay, I want to thank you, Alfie, for again. I tried to talk my way out of it when you called me. Why you called me? And I'm just going to basically, because we live in an age where there's just tremendous information all around us. And I'm going to go a quote from a Bob Marley song, "Rat Race," which I think is actually a quote from Haile Selassie, if I'm not mistaken, where it says, "Know your history, don't forget your destiny. In the abundance of water, a fool is thirsty." I'll just leave it at that. Said, "Know your history, don't forget your destiny. In the abundance of water, a fool is thirsty."
I would like to thank Andrew Corrin and Karen Walker for helping us to capture, the archive and, this experience and this blessed day. And all of you for coming out and putting up with me.
This will be on a YouTube channel, and we'll get it out to you where it's all big. So it will be recorded and put up on YouTube. So we'll get the word out.
Yes.
Hello, everybody. I just wanted to say, with our children, like Manira, I wasn't a good student. I mean, I was a good student. I just didn't like school. But if your kids don't like school, let's teach them crafts. Let's teach them how to be mechanics. Let's teach them how to be electricians. Everybody talks about going to college. Some kids are not college material. And if they say they want to be a mechanic, let's take them to a mechanic so they can learn. So not everybody is going to be college material. So, if they want to say they want to be something else, let's teach them a trade. Thank you. Let's teach them a trade. And trades make a whole lot of money.
Yes, it is.
And, when you have a trade, you're not paying back a student loan like in college. Trades make lots of money. So that's just my.
I'm glad you said that because that's incorporated in our work. Because I had a conversation with my nephew about 10 years ago when he was in college, and he had to do a paper about the pros and cons of, corporate and technological world and trade world. And we had a really solid conversation. And, one of the things that he hadn't considered, but I told him, is, look, if somebody pulls that plug and you don't have the internet, that whole corporate system gonna fall.
Amen.
You have to know how to paint a room, fix a light bulb, do some electrical work, fix a roof, whatever, and you'll be that same very day, you'll still be making money. And that's the way we teach the kids here too. They're all, some of them, they get their homework done, but then they don't really want to learn more. They want to learn how to do. But I'm a general contractor. That other white door in there is a room full of tools. And when I have to fix something, I grab that kid and I say, come on, let me show you. And that's what we do. We've tiled together. We've cut wood together. We've done all those things together. And we have a student right now mentoring with the architect firm over in Rittenhouse Place. Because he was let me see. So we put it together, and now he's mentoring him, our young guy, in architecture. He's an 8th grader, but he knows what he wants. He knows where he wants to go. So guess what? Now he's got his feet in the field, and now he'll see: is this really what you want to do? Is it not? What's the take? Are you willing to put that in? And all the rest of that. So that's the kind of stuff that we do incorporate here. And I want to say I'm so glad that you filmed this, because it's my intention, if all of you are amenable to it, to show this to our kids on our next movie day.
One other
They
thing.
need to hear what you all have said, and they need to soak it in. And the only way they're going to soak it in is to hear it from you. So.
One other thing, so you mentioned the building trade, so I've been blessed to work like 13 years in a row for the annual local 332 Sam Staten's banquet, which Kenny Gamble was the MC, and I was with Gene Henley for 13 years, and they hired our trio to play for it. So like, and so I could, talk and see, put you all in touch with each other too,
Well, I love that, and you all need to know. When I had a kid who was interested in piano and keyboards, I called Alfie, and I was like, "You going to sit down with this kid?" He said, "Bring him down." I took that child right to his house, and he sat him down at the keyboard, and he taught him some things. So
I can't really play. I'm gonna have to do that.
whatever. Well, I don't know if they know that you used to
You're
plunk around
embarrassing me.
on our piano when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
He would come down our house and plunk around on our piano.
Fuck around,
And
yeah.
my,
Yeah.
right? Little guy. And then my dad saw how much you loved it, right? So then he started teaching you chords, and he started teaching, right? And then my mom would say, "You've
That's
been
what he
here all
said.
day.
That's what he
You gotta
said
be
now."
hungry. It's dinner time. Tell him to come eat before he goes back to the piano, right?" But that's what we have to do for each other, That's what we have to do.
Well, like
me,
for
straining
example,
my
like
hearing,
this music is medicine, and it's good medicine, and like the state of the music industry is so corrupt and it's all messed up. So like I have people like Bunny Singer, people like Carl Helm from Ardmore. Carl Helm, he passed last year. He sang on so many hit records. Delphonics, Blue Notes, Stylistics, Spinners, all this stuff. Never got paid or recognition or all this stuff, but and real humble, Matter of fact, when Ardmore Junior High, when they were getting ready to tear the building down, he and I got approached to do this program to help save Ardmore Junior High School building. So it was him, Ernie Swartz, who was the choir director, and myself. So we did it, and Carl was singing, and I was playing for him. And so like, we attempted to make that happen, but history went down the way it went down.
Can I just add one more thing for the record, since you're on tape?
Go ahead.
Talking about black businesses,
Mm-hmm.
Wellburn Automobile Repair down in Berwyn,
Yes.
the Wellburn family,
Mhm.
and one of the sons ended up being the vice president, and the general manager of the International Design something for General Motors.
Yes.
So I just wanted to mention
Yes.
one more thing down there.
And we have to support those businesses, and the businesses have to support things like this. Like Donna, as soon as Donna heard what we were doing, she's like,
Yep.
"Yo, I'm gonna put a grant together for you," and she jumped right in, and it really helped get this off the ground. So that's the kind of things that we have to know what each other is doing, and then we have to not turn around and say, "Oh yeah, that's good, okay, bye." That's the part.
Right.
That's the second part, but that's the hardest part, is to circle back around on that and put your piece into it so that it can grow and it can thrive. Because we can all say we want for the kids, we all want what we want for the economy, we all want what we want for each other's businesses. Yeah, we can say that, but until we start supporting each and every one of our businesses, and until we all then turn around and take all that growth and pour it into programs for the youth and things like that, then, what are we doing? Yeah, we're talking, we had a nice conversation. So, we really
everyone for coming out.